138 pounds in the black corner. From St. Louis,
Here comes Mr. Pro.
Andre the Giant.
Gonna get his legs in on the bruiser. Hulk Hogan.
Number 1, the greatest WWE champion of all time, and in many ways, the man who made the title what it is today, Bruno Sammartino.
his opponent weighing 236 pounds in the white corner. From Van Nuys, California.
Welcome in to another edition of Retro Wrestling Rewind. As always, I am one half of the greatest podcast tag team champions of the world, self-crowned, of course. I'm David Fine, alongside the true Long Island IC, Alex G, King of the Ring 1994. When you look at it, it's a great show if you have it on mute. It was a good show, but really the commentating, Art Donovan, was he drunk? Was it a gimmick, or was he just a fucking idiot?
Art Donovan is an interesting character, I guess, in wrestling or in general in life. It's kind of weird that they even had him on this show. I know he's a big deal in Baltimore. He had a TV show. You would see him on the late night shows every once in a while as like the final guest. You would also see him a lot on NFL films if you ever watch some of those old videotapes. He, interesting guy, can tell an interesting story. He just didn't know anything about professional wrestling, and poor Gorilla and Randy, halfway through the show started ignoring him.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of farther in the show. Yokozuna was walking to the ring and he was like, "How much does that guy weigh? And who's that guy?" I mean, I was like, really? I mean, it was
almost like they had no prep work. He didn't watch any tapes. He didn't watch the show. He didn't know who anyone was, so he couldn't put over like, "Oh, fucking Bret Hart is awesome," or "Hey, it's Lex Luger, sweet." Yeah, he treated them like everyone was unknown, so it made all the wrestlers on there look like they were pieces of shit because he didn't know who the fuck they were.
Yeah, I mean, I did notice that that Randy and Gorilla kept on. Like you said, towards the end of the show, middle of the show, they just ignored him. You didn't really hear much.
I mean, they had to. They had to. Now, here's the thing. There's a couple of storylines that we want to get into about this show overall. Number one, Vince is not at this show. It's the first pay-per-view without Vince. He's out with the neck injury. He's getting he had a herniated disc in his neck, which he's getting surgically repaired. So he's recovering at home. So he's basically on the phone with, Kevin Dunn and Bruce Pritchard, who are attempting to run this show.
Well, I mean, I would have loved to be a fly on the wall back in that position whenever they're listening to Art Donovan just kind of butchering the whole entire show.
I'm just curious. I'm curious of why they didn't pull him halfway through. Like why didn't oh, this is fucking really, really shitty. All right, Art Donovan, thanks for coming out. Yay, Art Donovan. See you later. And get rid of him. But no, he stuck through the end.
Yeah, I mean, do you think nowadays if there's hijinks and tomfoolery and the guy didn't know what the hell he was doing, they would have definitely pulled him? I mean, they would have definitely said, "Hey, it's not working out. You did a great job."
I think if Vince was there, he would have pulled them. For sure. Because it would have been Vince on commentary except for Gorilla. And Vince would be like, "You're a piece of shit, get the fuck out of here."
Yeah, it's like, go sit in the crowd. Or it's like, but yeah, I mean, it was like you said, it was Baltimore, Maryland. It was on June 19th, 1994. A whopping 12,000 in attendance. It was a Father's Day event, so it's one of those things.
Baltimore's a hot crowd for wrestling. I mean, it's a big WCW town, but it's also a big WWF town. Now, if you watch the crowd when you watch this event, you will see them going ape shit for like everything too, which is good to see in the new generation era because everything else was pretty fucking shitty in 1994. Heck, I stopped watching WWF around this time in 1994. I was a WCW guy all the way.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think one of the storylines that I got out of the program, out of the whole show, was kind of the storyline with the 1, 2, 3 kid. I mean, he won against Jeff.
He looks like a boxer. The fuck does that mean, Art Donovan, you idiot?
Yeah, I mean, of course, as we all know, as we watch the show, 1, 2, 3 kid, got the win over Double J, Jeff Jarrett. But then Jeff Jarrett gave him the business and was kind of, it's kind of leading up to the match. They didn't know if he was going to go up against Owen Hart. but he did. So, but he didn't. We know how that turned out. But I mean, overall, I mean, what would you give the show? I mean, minus the commentary, and if you could put it on mute. I mean,
I feel everything. You got to judge everything on a curve in 1994, so it's probably like on a curve. It's probably like a 7.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I don't think it was the best time for the WWF at the time. I mean, it was
because in reality, if you're coming off a super strong WrestleMania 10, and this is the next show after WrestleMania 10. Now WrestleMania 10 was fucking off the fucking charts. You're following up WrestleMania 10 with this event, which is a good event. It's just that commentary is so fucking bad that it ruins the entire show. Now, you have the ascension of Owen Hart here. You have the return of Jim Neidhart. You have Diesel in his first main event against Brett, which we'll talk about how great Brett is because he's fucking awesome. And we have a lot of things going on that seem to be positive. It just, by the time in between King of the Ring and SummerSlam, I think it all comes crashing down pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, when I look at the show, I mean, most of the matches are great. I mean, there's a couple that, I'm not a fan of.
It's a tournament. I mean, they're going to be from some fucking stinkers. I mean, we've seen this with Crockett Cup. We've seen this with every single tournament that we've covered. That a lot of especially the opening round matches are not going to be necessarily all that great, but that's kind of the idea.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of tournaments, I did talk to my personal good friend Mr. Bill Apter last week after we covered Crockett Cup, and come to find out that I was actually a scripted event, with the seedings. It wasn't a shoot. So I know everybody was they were filling up my Twitter box. They said, "Hey, ask Bill." So it's one of those things that these tournaments. I mean, you're going to get good matches, like you said. You're going to get shit matches, but I mean, I'm not a
because these matches have no build. No. They're cold.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, they're not leading towards any kind of angle. It's just they're people put together to wrestle each other. But kind of the first match that we saw on the pay-per-view was Razor Ramon taking on Bam Bam Bigelow with the very beautiful, and I say that sarcastically, Luna Vachon.
She's hot without the paint and the shaved head, by the way.
I have not looked at her without that, but I will look it up. But yeah, Bam Bam and Razor. I mean, Razor was at this time. Do you think he was kind of hot? Hot on the WWF in the WWF, or I mean.
Yeah, I mean he's coming off WrestleMania 10 ladder match, which is again 5-star match, amazing. I think he recently just lost the Intercontinental Championship to Diesel, so I think Diesel has that belt, which is weird. He wins all 3 belts in the lead up to winning the world title. So
yeah, I mean he does have that Intercontinental title because later on the show he's facing Bret Hart, but of course the IC title is not on the line. It's just for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. But we'll talk about it. I mean, Bam Bam for a big guy, he had some pretty good moves, some agility moves I mean, you wouldn't expect from such a big guy.
Bam Bam can go. Bam Bam can definitely go. I would consider Bam Bam Bigelow the first of that generation's independent superstars, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, kind of to get off the subject of this first match, I mean, I'm normally used to, the great ring announcer Howard Finkel, the Fink, doing all the introductions and everything. But on this show, we had Bill Dunn. I mean, what were your thoughts on? I mean, he wasn't. I mean, I'd never even. I guess I've heard him before, but just.
I think he was on 10 also.
Yeah. It's one of the.
But it was just another scenario where they're trying to replace the Fink, which they would often try to do for whatever reason, and they can never really do it until. Many years later. So.
Yeah, I mean, you can't replace the Fink. I mean, I think recently, like Lillian Garcia, she's really good. I like Justin Roberts. I mean, he kind of picked up the shoes of the Fink, but I mean, Howard Finkel. I mean, he's great announcer. I mean, great ring announcer. I mean, he just, I just kind of like one of those guys that you kind of grew up with. It's a guy you heard. So I mean, and then there was that female ring announcer, McGurk. No, was that no?
Mike McGurk, daughter of famous wrestler and promoter. Leroy McGurk.
Huh. I mean, yeah.
Who ran Oklahoma until Bill Watts bought it from him and made Mid-South Wrestling. So everything was better in Mid-South.
And you're going to stick that, aren't you?
forever.
I mean, you know what? I think I think that your love of Mid South and I love Mid South and kind of the older stuff. I mean, we definitely need to do a series on Mid South, kind of like show why it is probably where everyone else is best. I mean, it doesn't matter if they were shit in WWE, WWF, WCW, NWA. They were great in Mid South. So it's that Mid South magic. So
It is.
it is. But yeah, I mean, this match, I mean, it went to 8-24. It's the first match of the King of the Ring. It was a quarterfinal match. The next match we had the great Irwin R. Shyster taking on Mabel alongside Oscar. I mean,
Are you a big Oscar guy?
no, I'm.
Oh, you're a liar. You love Oscar.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I can't lie. Can't lie to you. I'm a big Oscar fan. What can I say? I mean, I like Mo, but Oscar. I mean,
You're a Mo guy.
you like-
Isn't Mo in your area? Doesn't he do indies in your area?
I think so.
I feel like he does.
I think he does. I mean, it's funny how I don't know, wrestlers from our kind of our youth in the mid '90s, they still seem to wrestle. It's just one of those things. But I was not a big fan of the Irwin R. Shyster gimmick. I mean, it's just he went through so many like incarnations. He was Captain Mike Rotundo. He was just Mike Rotundo. He was he tagged with Barry Windham. They were great tag team. I mean, it's which incarnation of this character did you like the best, do you think?
Well, it's interesting here because 1994, I am 12 years old. And I understand IRS, the adults don't like IRS, obviously. As a 12-year-old, and I'm assuming lots of other 12-year-olds, 10-year-olds are watching wrestling at this time, have no idea why the IRS are heels. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's kind of a weird gimmick to do, especially if you're trying to get kids because, kids don't pay taxes.
No.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Michael Wall Street guy personally, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a purist. I'm a Mike Rotundo. I mean, I even liked him back when he was in the Varsity Club, wearing those stupid Syracuse, wrestling outfit. It's just, I'm a pure NWA, person. I just, that's kind of what I grew up on. That's what was in my area. It's like, you would think that you live up in the north, you would be more of a WWF fan, but I mean, you kind of went down to WCW, which you wouldn't think.
No, it's weird. New York, and I would say New York and the Boston area are always different because we get so much of the TV. So, like in New York, not only did we get WCW, obviously we got we had a New York Crockett show. It was called Pro Wrestling New York. Huh. So it was a little bit different. And we got World Class up here for a time. We got Florida for a very long time. So we're very familiar with the NWA. I know World Class was big in Boston, and they did when they went up there and did a tour up there. They did pretty good business. So New York, Boston's always going to be a little bit different. Philly's always going to be a little bit different because that's a battleground city. So yeah, I mean WCW never did well up here. They would come out to the Nassau Coliseum or the Meadowlands, and they wouldn't really necessarily draw all that well for whatever reason. It most likely had to do with being not able to get into the Garden. So
yeah, I mean, you said you had a different show up in your area, the NWA show. I mean, what was different about? I mean, I love how they have these different territory like incarnations of like the National Wrestling Alliance. I mean, or whatever. I mean, what was different about?
Well, the Crockett and WCW for periods of time would have it would be they had one in Chicago too, and it would be like it's basically pro, WCW pro, just slightly different.
Okay.
So they would do stuff that had make it like New York centric, and they would have New York local promos in it.
All right, yeah, I mean it's what that's.
So if you ever watch the WGN, WCW Pro, you'll see Tony Schiavone like outside whatever Chicago landmark doing interviews. Now there's not a lot of footage of Pro Wrestling New York out there. At least I can't find it. So I really want to go back and watch some of those shows. But
yeah, I mean,
they're really pushing the Meadowlands because that's where they went very often. Starting in like 1984.
Yeah,
so.
I'm a big. I love going down those YouTube holes, those rabbit holes, and watching some of the old like the promos that they would do. For stuff upcoming. That's I think that's kind of what you're talking about. They would have like, Philadelphia centric ones, California, whatever territory they were going to. I mean, they don't do that now, but it's like one of those things,
They should, because WWE is running Nassau Coliseum, I think, next week, and I don't even know about it. I found about it today. Like, nice job, guys. Not that I'll go see fucking Raw, although with Heyman running the show, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I was watching a little bit of Raw tonight, and there was a title change, but other than that, it was blah show. I mean, it was my favorite guy lost his belt, so I'm kind of sad. But I'm a big
Ricochet.
Yeah, I'm a big Ricochet mark. So I've always been ever since he started a while back. It's just I don't know, but hey, that's okay. AJ needs another belt, so he needs a U.S. title, I guess.
Doesn't he live by your house?
Yes, he does, and and I have a buddy who actually wrestled with him. Wrestled against
in the bedroom.
No, I don't know, man. I don't judge. Hey, I don't judge. I'm an equal opportunist. If you do what you want to do, but no, he was in a promotion down in up in North Georgia. But that's I mean, it's AJ stuff.
What's the difference between North Georgia and South Georgia?
One's north of Atlanta, one's south of Atlanta.
Yeah, but like people will reference that all the time. I hear that all the time, and I just want to know if there's like a cultural difference.
Yeah, I mean, there's a kind of more of an accent.
Okay.
It's just the accent, and more South Georgia's more farm and rural, so horses and shit like that, but cattle. Next match after the old Irwin R. Shyster Mabel match. I mean, I think my favorite wrestler on this show.
Tatanka's not racist.
Yes.
The gimmick of Tatanka is not racist by any stretch of the imagination.
I mean, are there people that think it's racist?
You'll get some people making some comments regarding it, but Tatanka was a real Native American. He was a lumpy Indian.
A lumpy Indian?
Yeah, from South Carolina.
Huh.
Or North Carolina, one of the Carolinas. But, legitimate Native ancestry here, unlike your Jay Strongbow, which is racist.
Jay Strongbow wasn't a Native American?
No, he's Italian. His son was a breakdancer in the WWF. It was ridiculous.
His son was?
Yeah.
What was his gimmick?
He was a breakdancer.
Huh.
He was a breakdancing wrestler in the WWF.
That sounds dumb. Yeah, man. What do you expect? It's the WWF. But, I mean, Owen Hart, I mean, it kind of makes me sad. Like you said, you hate thinking about shit like that. But, I mean, what would have happened if the incidents, at that pay-per-view hadn't happened? I mean, he could have been world champion. I mean, he do you think he would have been?
He should have been at least twice. I can count. One in this era and one when he came back after the Montreal Screwjob is when I would have pushed him to the moon. Unfortunately, I think he was perpetually going to be stuck in the mid-card regardless.
Yeah. After
that, so once they started putting him back in the Blue Blazer gimmick, and then they had the Coco Beware come out as a black blue blazer, which is weird, and the whole thing is fucking disgusting. But there was a period of time in the mid '80s and the early '90s that everyone thought Owen Hart was going to be the next big thing, and not that he didn't live up to his potential. He did get that serious knee injury, which kind of hampered his mobility later on in his career. But still, an amazing guy on a promo, fantastic heel. Probably should have got a run. He probably should have beat Bret for the belt.
I mean, do you think that his push and his kind of career in the WWF was hampered by Bret? I mean, Bret being there. I mean, do you think if Bret hadn't been in the WWF at the time and been such a a rock star and people loved him and stuff like that, do you think he would have been pushed harder, or do you think that had nothing to do with it?
I think he wouldn't have been pushed at all. I think the reason, because Owen was there before. Again, he was there as the Blue Blazer. They did nothing with him. They brought him back and still did nothing with him for a really, really long time. And it wasn't until 1994 is when they started doing shit with him. So
yeah, I mean, he was definitely, definitely a great wrestler. I mean, definitely, like you said, great heel. I mean, his heel heat with his brother and just kind of doing all that stuff is like, I thought it was great. I mean, it's kind of sad, like you said, that that he didn't get pushed harder. And unfortunately, even though the WWE Hall of Fame is, not really a Hall of Fame because there's not really he won't ever be in there because, I think that his family's not going to want that to happen.
To be in the WWE Hall of Fame, you sign a Legends contract, which gives them the explicit right to use your likeness for like video games and a bunch of other shit too, and you'll get a percentage of that money. Now, I'm pretty sure Martha Hart doesn't want her husband's image being used in any way, shape, or form at all, because her relationship with the company is really, really bad. So
yeah. That's kind of sad, but it is what it is. He'll always be kind of in some people's hearts. He'll be in the Hall of Fame, but like you said, he'll never be. Because it's just kind of sad that had kind of had end like that. But next match we had my favorite wrestler. I say that sarcastically. The 1-2-3 Kid. Who defeated Jeff Jarrett? Who would have thought back in 1994 that the 1-2-3 Kid would turn out, to be such a superstar? Outside of the 1-2-3, the Shaw Waltman, the X-Pac, the D-Generation X, and all that kind of stuff. Did you see him doing that back then? Did you see him, or did you just thought he was just kind of a mid-card?
No, I pegged him pretty early as someone that could be a potential superstar because he was doing shit that we've never seen before. And again, we talk about Bam Bam Bigelow being an early independent star. 1-2-3 Kid is another, Shawn Waltman being an early independent star. Coming out of the formation of the independents after the territories dried up and the WWF stopped running local house shows. So, for me, I saw Lightning King and Global, because we had Global up here too. So, as we saw him as a heel too, and having these amazing matches with Jerry Lynn, and we're like, holy shit, and he's all over the fucking Aftermag. So when he debuted on Raw, I already knew who he was.
Yeah.
So I was very excited to see him. And then we got the big win over Razor, and then they're off and running, and then they pushed him a little bit, until they turned him heel, and then he left, but he came back, hotter than ever, fresh off the NWO angle.
Yeah, he was. And I know you're a big Jeff Jarrett fan, aren't you? Did you like his kind of the music kind of gimmick that he always seemed to have? No matter where he went.
It's interesting. If you watch Jeff Jarrett in Memphis, you would probably be disappointed about that gimmick. He's much bigger here too, so he's clearly probably on the juice a little bit on the gas allegedly. I don't know, but he looks way bigger here than he did in Memphis. Memphis, he was a little small, but here, he's getting into his own. He's cutting good promos. He's a nice look about him. He's having quality matches. So it's nice to see Jeff here. So
yeah, it's definitely. I'm kind of glad that that the 1-2-3 Kid went over. They kind of did that angle where he kept on going off the top rope and hitting them in the face and kind of just and all the whole body just to kind of make the.
And Jeff hits a wicked pile driver post match.
Yeah,
too.
He is, and then of course he ends up thinking that he's not gonna. It's kind of builds the drama for the match with him and Owen Hart later on in the card. It's it was drama. It's definitely keep people on their edge of their seats and kind of take a break from that, keeping people on the edge of your seats. And if they can't get enough, I don't know how they cannot get enough of hearing and listening to your, as they would say, your sweet voice. How can they hear more of you? Because I know you got a successful YouTube channel outside of the Retro Wrestling Rewind. Just kind of tell people how they can get and watch it. How can they follow you on Twitter?
You guys should know this already, but I want to reiterate it for the uninitiated. You want to go to obviously YouTube.com. You want to type in Retro Wrestling Games Presents. We currently have 312 videos up. Make sure you watch them all. That's my challenge to you this summer. Watch them all. You hear some interesting stuff. We recently reviewed Wrestle War for the Mega Drive, which is a pretty sweet game. We're coming off our latest 1984 NWA project show, which is fantastic. We talk about what if Dusty Rhodes goes to the WWF in 1984. What would happen with that? So, really interesting stuff, really cool stuff. And then if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at RW Games Presents. I'm a good follow. I won't yell at you for being stupid.
I mean, even if they are, you're not gonna.
No, because I see a lot of people on Twitter with a lot of bad takes. I see a lot of people on Twitter with wrong information. I see a lot of people on Twitter who don't have no idea what they're talking about. It's not my job to correct all these people because that's all I would be doing all the time. So I just ignore them.
I mean, as long as they, like you said, you don't really care if they say you're a piece of shit or. No. As long as they interact, give you a thumbs up, it's interactions for you, so. Just
listen to the show. If you think I'm stupid, call me stupid. I'm going to give you the finger back, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, you're going to give them the old emoji finger. So.
I'm not afraid of criticism. That's just not something I fear. Oh, you hurt my feelings. I don't have feelings. I'm a wrestling fan.
Hey, folks, I can trust me. He does not have any feelings, but.
None.
It was
none, zero.
He has no feelings, and I can attest to that. Remember that wrestler Max Muscle?
Yeah, you just read my retweet, you asshole. Because I just retweeted that he passed away.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was like, because I was wanting to see how many fans you have on Twitter. You're climbing. Yeah, it's kind of sad that he passed away. I mean,
passed away. Yeah.
But hey, on a more happy note, the next match was for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. Had the Intercontinental Champion Big Daddy Cool Diesel and Shawn Michaels. He was accompanied by Shawn Michaels defeating Bret Hitman Hart with Jim the Anvil Neidhart by disqualification. I mean, this whole match was weird. I mean, then after the match later on, Bret was looking for Jim Neidhart.
Match is fantastic, by the way. Now, we get to see Bret Hart here in his prime carry an extremely green Kevin Nash, who's probably never gone more than 6 minutes in any match of his career to a 22-minute match. They sold the fact that, him and Bret were having this fucking knockdown, drag-out fight. In addition to that, Kevin Nash had a fucking, torn groin before this match. So he's injured. So Bret Hart had to carry an injured green Kevin Nash for 22 minutes, and he did a fucking fantastic job.
You're a big Bret Hart fan, aren't you?
I like Bret Hart taking piece of shit wrestlers and having good matches with them. That's what I like.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give him that. Bret can carry. It's kind of like
Shawn couldn't have done this match.
No, I mean it was kind of like I compare it to Ric Flair. I mean, he can take wrestlers that are crap, Junkyard Dog, and make them look better and carry them for a whole match. I mean, it's just one of those things, those talents that they had,
And you get out of this match with no one looking weak. Because we don't know if Bret would have been able to kick out the powerbomb. So that's left ambiguous. So we're not sure about that. And I thought that was done extremely well. So even though Bret retains the belt here, although he loses the match, Diesel keeps his heat. Great booking job. Then you have the whole stuff with Jim. Sort of not turn. He didn't turn on him. But he didn't help him when he was getting his ass whooped.
Yeah.
And we find out why later.
Yeah, I mean it was a great match, but yeah, I mean Bret can, like you said, I mean, yeah, I think if Shawn had been in this match, I don't think it would have been,
Shawn had a great match with Diesel right before he left in '96, but again, Nash is way more seasoned, the next 2 years, because Shawn and Diesel's WrestleMania match isn't that great.
No,
but that Good Friends, Better Enemies match is really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely. I mean, it was definitely a great match. I mean, I think the main event that they had.
What the fuck was that? New Generation, my ass. We're talking about new generation. They're making fun of Hulk Hogan because he's 39 years old. Roddy Piper is 40 and Jerry Lawler is 44 in this fucking match.
They're definitely not new generation.
The fuck are you doing?
Yes, it was. Yeah, that's kind of my contention of the whole show. But we'll talk about that when we get to the main event. Exactly. We had.
I have nothing to add to that.
Oh man, the hijinks and the shenanigans and tomfoolery on the show.
Stop being weird.
Who, me?
$10. Why are you smelling your fingers right now? Where have they been that you're smelling them? It's gross. Stop.
Hey, how'd you know I did that? That's weird. Do you have a camera in my? Oh, I'm sorry. You don't have a camera.
Oh, why would I have a camera so the government can spy on me? I walk around with no pants most of the time.
Even at work?
No, I have to wear pants, but I make sure everyone knows that I feel that I don't like wearing pants. So they're very restrictive.
I hope you're not. I hope you're not in charge of anybody.
No, not anymore. I retired from doing that.
Well, that's good. Oh man, the next match of the evening had Razor Ramon taking on the Taxman Erwin R. Scheisser. 5 minutes and 13 seconds in a semifinal match in the King of the Ring.
Match is too short. It should have been 10 minutes.
Why?
But whatever. Because the match would have been really good if it was 10 minutes. It's not good when it's 5 minutes. They didn't have enough time. They were rushing.
Yeah. I mean, do you think they rushed them because it was the seventh match of the evening, or they just didn't really care?
Yeah, you have 11 matches.
Yeah.
And that Brett Diesel match went 22. And I mean, I understand why it's like, because you have that Owen Hart match too. It's going to be short, so the next two matches are relatively short. And I don't know if they kept them open-ended just in case Diesel ran out of gas and then they cut their match short. But he made it all the way through.
Yeah.
So that could have been the possibility here, because I would have reversed the order. You have that Diesel Brett match going 22. I would have done Owen Hart on 1, 2, 3 next, and then gave Razor RS more time. Yeah. Take some minutes off that fucking Head Shrinkers Crush Yokozuna match.
Oh God, we got to talk about that in a second. That's when the great Art Donovan made some amazing comments about Yokozuna and asking him, the
Head Shrinkers trying to be babyfaces.
Yeah,
what's that about?
Yeah, they definitely are not. They're definitely not good baby faces.
They eat people. They're cannibals. How are you making them babyface?
Hey, I mean, it is 1994, so I mean, next match, Owen Hart taking on the 1, 2, 3 Kid. Of course, as you remember watching it back, the 1, 2, 3 Kid didn't come out there right at the beginning when they started his music. It took a couple, a little bit to get out, but I think the crowd was really behind the 1, 2, 3 Kid. I mean, he was kind of one of those, the comeback kid scenarios.
Yeah, underdog for sure.
I mean, when you're
like a Ricky Morton, just not as good looking.
Well, yeah, there's.
Ricky Morton's a sexy man. I don't know. If
not anymore. He's kind of old, but yeah.
I don't know. He's still got the hair though.
Yeah, that's just weird.
I wish I had his hair.
I wish I had hair, but that's a
good point. You don't have hair anywhere, from what I understand. That's weird.
Yeah, that is weird. But you know a lot about me. That's just weird. You read on the internet, so
yeah.
But I mean, Owen Hart. 1, 2, 3 Kid. Do you think? What are your thoughts on this match?
It was fun. I want to see 25 minutes of Owen Hart 1, 2, 3 Kid for real. But for what we got, it's probably the best 4-minute match in the history of wrestling.
Yeah, you don't say that about many 4-minute matches. It is what it is. The next match was
they did that same angle like a year before with Rick Rude and Sting.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. Like Sting got beat up earlier in the show, and then he came back. It was more dramatic though, because they had Sting like literally getting bust back to the fucking arena in the back of an ambulance, and then he jumps out of the ambulance and then goes to fight Rick Rude for the U.S. belt, and then gets beat. Then Rude wins the belt.
That was Sting, the champion at the time, was Rude.
Sting was U.S. champion.
Of course, yeah. Oh God.
I think that was on the Clash.
If it was a Surfer Sting, that was cool, but I'm not a big.
It was Surfer Sting.
That's cool. I love it.
He didn't turn into Crow Sting until like 96.
Yeah, that was kind of the death of Sting. I was just like,
Oh yeah.
God. As much as obnoxious and you would think. I love the '80s Sting. I mean, I remember watching Sting's first match on TBS, in WCW or NWA back then. I mean, he was a badass. I mean, and then he just turned into.
That's someone who wasn't better on Mid South, by the way.
You think he was better
That's
in the
where he
NWA?
For sure.
I mean, do you think he wasn't better in Mid South? Wasn't he teaming with the Warrior back then?
At first, and then the Warrior left, and he went to Dallas, and then it was Sting in a stable with Eddie Gilbert and Rick Steiner.
Got it. That's another wrestler that I just was a big fan of. Hot stuff, Eddie Gilbert.
Eddie Gilbert?
Not Rick Steiner, who I've never been a fan of the dog-faced grandma, but Eddie Gilbert, he's another one of those guys that just died way too early. I mean, it's just like
way too soon.
It's like
he would have been a big help for the WWE during the Attitude Era because he liked to book that kind of crazy shit too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he back in that. I don't know if he would have been a great wrestler in the WWE. I mean, he probably would have been, but I think there's a lot of it's
his in-ring career was winding down anyway. Don't forget, he was in that car accident in '83.
Yeah.
That really, really like fucked him up, and that's one of the reasons why he's on the fucking pain pills all the time and shit. Very similar to the Pillman situation. Yeah. So that's the reason why he was like all kind of fucked up all the time because he was in that big. And it was a big angle on WWF TV. He was in WWF. If you watch the early expansion era, like right when Hogan wins the belt, like Eddie Gilbert is around, and they're talking about his big comeback, and then he leaves relatively quickly, but. If you watch that early, the early Hogan run, he's definitely there.
Yeah, man, I think he would have definitely been great, as an agent or in creative or doing something.
I would put him in great creative. I mean, he did it in NWA, but he didn't get along with Flair, so that wasn't going to work. But he should have got a shot. I mean, he's doing it. He was booking Puerto Rico. He's booking ECW. He definitely someone that we gave a shot to in the WWF, and he had friends there, like Bruce Pritchard's like one of his best friends.
Yeah, man.
I'm surprised he didn't try to get him a job, but he talks to the sheets too much. So a lot of the reserve stuff, like if it's a promotion that Eddie's in, he's the source. He's a Meltzer stooge.
A Meltzer stooge. You don't never want to be.
It was him, Heyman, and it has never been proven, but Cornette's the other one for sure. Never been proven. I was going to ask him that question when I went to the live show. I was going to say. Who do you know? I was going to ask Bruce, like, who were the Meltzer Stooges that you knew about? And was one of them Jim Cornette?
Yeah, that would have been that would have been great. But hey, maybe the next time.
And Terry Taylor. Don't forget about Terry Taylor.
Oh, the great Terry Taylor. But next match was for the WWF Tag Team titles. We had the Head Shrinkers, Fatu and Samu with Alpha.
They beat the Steiners? When did they fucking beat the Steiners?
I don't know.
Steiners are gone, by the way, too, which sucks.
Yeah, well.
They're with Japan.
With Alpha and the great Captain Lou Albano, they're taking on Crush and Yokozuna with Master Fuji. And this is the match that...
Racist.
I'm not a racist. That's how we talked. So
he's not even Japanese!
What were your thoughts?
He's Hawaiian.
What were your thoughts on him and Cornette kind of teaming up, being kind of with Crush?
I did enjoy that. I did enjoy the fact that Cornette was Yokozuna's American spokesperson. I thought that was lots of fun. I liked it when he also managed Owen Hart and David Boy Smith.
Yeah, speaking of Cornette, I've always been a big Cornette fan, especially.
Who isn't?
Unless
you're like one of those newfangled wrestling fans who started watching wrestling like in 2012. You're not going to be a fan of Cornette. But for the rest of us,
I'll always be a Cornette fan. Especially, I was always a fan, but he kind of got on my good side when he told me I was the smartest man in Rome, Georgia one time when I was working the show. But that doesn't take very much to be the smartest.
No.
You could even be the smartest person in Rome, Georgia, and you're, well, yeah. But no,
it's like saying you have a big penis for a Japanese man.
Yeah, and not speaking of Japanese man's penises, but speaking of a guy who really loves the history of the sport, Jim Cornette. That man has so much memorabilia, so many tapes. He was talking on his on one of his. He has 2 podcasts. Have you ever listened to any of them?
Of course, fucking corny.
The drive-through, and then
the Experience.
Yes, one of them. He said he had the original demo tape for a bunch of wrestlers, like a bunch of legends. It's like he's one of those guys that you just want to kind of just pick his brain.
Read his book. I have it. It's awesome.
I will actually maybe pick it up. I mean, it's just one of those. I mean, he has so many stories that he can't probably tell, or he wouldn't want to tell. But I mean, I would love to just pick his brain. I mean, he'd be a great sit down and just to talk to. I mean, some of the
keep him away from modern wrestling a little bit.
But he doesn't like modern wrestling or talk about. But he's doing the MLW stuff, correct?
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, I don't know.
Well, he'll take that paycheck.
Yeah, I mean,
I would
who
too.
the hell would? I mean, I would definitely. I mean, trust me. I'm extremely jealous of Justin Roberts doing his AEW stuff. I'm like, God, if I had played my cards right and gone down a different path, that could have been me. Except it's Justin.
I thought you were going to say gone down on Pat Patterson for a second. I was like, that's a tale that many men can speak about.
No, that didn't work anyway, so that's beside the point.
Were you a big Rhubarb Jones fan?
I was, because he was a local DJ, country DJ down here in Georgia. Unfortunately,
was he your mentor?
He wasn't. Unfortunately, he passed a couple years back. But
he's
I mean,
awesome.
he was on the old center stage shows. I mean, it was.
It sure was.
But it's kind of funny. I was watching the recent AEW show, Fighter Fest. Did you happen to catch that?
I did.
What were your thoughts on that? Kind of just getting away from what we're currently talking about.
I went into the show with very low expectations, and I wasn't disappointed, so it was good.
Oh, so you were not a fan of the show?
Well, I knew what it was. Yeah. It's a wrestling event at a video game convention. It's a C-level house show, so people really need to keep that in mind. Like the next real big show is Fight for the Fallen, anyway.
Yeah.
So like when they had the matches for the show, and I went back and watched them, and it was like, okay.
Yeah, man.
Like it wasn't. There's a couple things like they're just trying to work the kinks out, and I take issue with a couple of stuff there. The librarian thing is like get fucked. I don't know what the fuck that's about.
Yeah,
get away from me. I don't know. Like the pre-show match is I want nothing to do with that. Obviously, the Darby Allin's fucking bump, that was rough. The unprotected chair shot, that was rough. And then the Young Bucks at the press conference trying to say that the chair was supposed to be gimmick and breaking all types of kayfabe. Thanks. That's like, Cody has good matches, Moxley has good matches, and MJF is a fucking star. Everything else was blasé.
Which he comes out there after Cody takes the unprotected chair shot, and I mean, I guess Cody is supposed to be a heel. Would you?
He is a heel. So Cody's a heel, and I don't know what Shawn Spears is doing, and the gimmick chair thing bothers me in the press conference because are we participating in kayfabe or are we not? Because they need to make that clear. If we're not, let's tell me like we're not participating in kayfabe. That's cool. Just tell me that shit. Don't try to ride some line. It's weird. And if you need to have an authority figure, just make Arn Anderson do it.
Yeah, or
they shouldn't have said nothing about the chair shot. Let Cody come out and just say this. Really, really simple. I should have got my hands up. That's it. That's all he had to say because then it crosses both lines. That doesn't make Spears look like an asshole for fucking smashing him in the head, unprotected chair shot, because I was like, I was supposed to get my hands up. And in terms of kayfabe, you're not going to take a steel chair to the face without putting your hands up. You know what I mean? You're going to try to protect yourself. So that's what Cody should have done, and the Young Bucks should have said something like, we have to review the tape, we'll issue a statement tomorrow, and then do some fictitious $10,000 fine on Shawn Spears and call that a day. Yeah. Instead of just... It's like you looked really green in a management position. You looked really bad. Just make Arn Anderson do it. You have him. He's backstage.
Yeah, I mean, you also have Dean Malenko. So, I mean, he's...
Well, Dean can't talk. Arn can talk.
Oh, God. Arn could talk for days.
Yeah.
I mean, he's...
Like I'm not a big fan of authority figures, general managers, all that shit in wrestling. I hate it. Especially heel ones. If you're going to have one, I prefer them being neutral or at least babyface.
Yeah.
But and I think in this situation, where the guys who are the head of the companies are your top stars, your Codys and your Bucks and your Omegas, you're gonna need someone there to kind of bridge that because it's weird. Like, oh, I want to be in a championship match, and yeah, this is like I won't talk business now. It's very weird, and I think they need to have an authority figure, and I would pick Arn Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, it
because he at least has credibility.
yeah, I mean, he does. But yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, it was hopefully their next Fight for the Fallen will be better, and then of course, All Out will be there.
I'm just gonna wait. Not for nothing. I'm not gonna expect a whole lot until they get TV. To be completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, and that starts in October, I think.
October, yes. I think it's Wednesday night Dynamite or some shit like that. I don't know.
I mean, and yeah,
Boom.
It'll definitely be interesting to see if what happens when they get on TNT.
I don't think Orange Cassidy works on television after 6 weeks, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah,
like some of their goofier shit, like some of their those extreme comedy shit, and your Joey Ryan's. I know he's not signed, but like your Orange Cassidy's and whoever's doing like big shit like that. I think, and we don't know for sure because we don't know what casual wrestling fans are into nowadays because there isn't any, and they're going to try to capture the casual wrestling fan. I don't think Orange Cassidy. I think people get bored with them after 6 weeks on TV, national television.
Yeah,
like that shit works on the indies fine. You go to a town, once a year or twice a year, it's fine. I enjoyed it. I saw it live. I enjoyed it. It was cute. It was fun. I could deal with it. I don't think people are going to have an appetite for it in 6 weeks. He has to do something else.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. That's the unanswered question. We'll just have to see when TV rolls around. Coming up in October. So
they need to sign some more guys too. I would pick someone like James Storm would be high on my list.
Yeah, who actually beat Colt Cabana for the national title. Wow. Yeah. So I mean, he is. James Storm is great. I mean, there are a lot of
Brian Cage is another one that I would try to get. The Briscoes, hopefully, when their contract's up from ROH. Juice Robinson would be another guy I would try to get. So there's guys available. I know that a lot of people think, oh, fucking the Indies, they're fucking light as fuck. NXT's taking a bunch, MLW's taking a bunch, NWA has a couple, AEW, so like it makes them pretty light. But, and I know you don't want to rely on ex WWF guys. That's very TNA-ish.
Yeah.
But there's no reason that Tessa Blanchard's not on any of these shows right now.
Yeah, I mean, she should definitely. I mean, she is awesome. I mean, she's my favorite. I think Ricochet is my favorite male wrestler. I think Tessa. I mean, she will always be. Because
not to be creepy, she smells delicious.
Yeah, she's super nice. I mean, whenever I was working with her at the same show that Jim Cornette said I was the smartest man in Rome, Georgia, she was on and she was super nice. I mean, it's just she went up against that match that night. She went up against she went up against one of the wrestlers in the the guy
Judy Morton.
No, I'll come up with
Leilani Kai, Alundra Blaze.
No, she went up with. No,
Bertha Faye.
I'll come up with a name later. I just drew a blank. But speaking of, we haven't finished talking about the head shrinkers. I mean,
why the fuck is Lou Albano there? It's 1994, not 1984. It's weird. Where's Cyndi Lauper?
And head shrinkers as baby faces, really?
Yeah, I mean, I do love me some make a difference fat too. To be honest, which will come later. I think in '95. That's fun. But yeah, these guys are cannibals that eat people. Where's Slick? Because Slick likes to take savage people and try to make them not savage anymore, much like Kamala. They should bring back Reverend Slick. Where's Slick on this show? We need Slick.
Oh, the Doctor of Style Slick. I mean, and this is, like I said, this is the point when Art Donovan said, "Hey, how much does that guy weigh?" I mean, it's like this guy was I don't know. Like you said, if Vince had been there, he would have taken him off the show.
Like, we've seen other shitty people on commentary before on pay-per-view. Susan St. James being probably the most notable. But Vince was able to, like, make her normal, at least, and listenable.
Yeah.
But Art Donovan is something like, oh, boy. Like, what is happening?
Yeah, it was definitely...
and he sounds like an old man.
Because he is.
You know what I mean? He's an old man voice. So it's like, it's the new generation featuring Art Donovan, who's 96 years old. Awesome.
It's, it's like,
Why is Crush foreign? Why is he pro-Japanese? He's Hawaiian. He should be very anti-Japanese. It makes no sense.
Does anything make sense? No.
Oh. No. Where's Tenru? Tenru should be on this show with Yoko.
Yeah.
You would see him in the Royal Rumble next year.
Yeah, I mean.
And Great Kabuki. Yeah. As they try to eliminate Lex Luger. So he doesn't get the title. He doesn't get the match. No, he was at the 94 Royal Rumble.
I mean, but the Head Shrinkers as the tag team champions, I mean,
that's how fucking thin their fucking tag team division is.
I mean, who the hell else could you have given the tag team titles to at this time? I mean,
Men on a Mission,
Mo and Mabel,
Smoking Guns.
Yeah. God.
Yeah, I think the Quebecers might be still around. I'm not sure.
Yeah, man.
That's rough.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to give the Head Shrinkers the only tag, yeah,
they were good as the Samoan SWAT team.
Yeah,
in WCW.
Well, which is weird. A lot of people aren't better in WCW, but they were.
Flair, Luger.
Yeah, I mean, there are exceptions. That was
Sting.
I mean, okay, you made your point. There were a lot of guys that were
Dallas Page. Booker T, Scott Steiner,
Stevie Ray.
Oh, the fucking Slapjack! I want Stevie Ray back on commentary, like tomorrow.
Hey, you give him a paycheck, he'll be back on commentary. So.
Yeah, get on the phone. Let's get Scott Hudson and Stevie Ray on commentary.
I mean, they would actually be good. I mean, Scott Hudson's great. Stevie Ray would be.
We love Scott Hudson.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent and a big advocate. Call me the advocate of Scott Hudson. I mean, I remember, when he first started doing stuff, he was in Independence here in Georgia. Great time. And then he did the WCW stuff with Tony and all those other buffoons. And
did he used to get in trouble at Center Stage for being an asshole, like a heel fan?
No, that was actually me that got in trouble. But yeah. But yes, he was an asshole fan, but that's.
Were you one of the bums they would let in the Center Stage because they couldn't fill it? And they would give him like a brown paper bag with some booze in it.
That was me. I mean, you
fucking knew it.
I mean, what do you expect? I mean, it was WCW back in the 90s. I mean, they would tape like 6 weeks in advance. I mean, and then you find out, one taping, the Harlem Heat were the champions, and the same taping about an hour later, the Steiner brothers were. It really kind of threw a wrench in my life, and I was like, oh my God, what the hell's going on? I don't understand. Why the Steiners are champions and why 5 minutes ago Harlem Heat was the champions. I was not smart to the business back then, but yeah, I mean, it was. I got smart to the business, like I said, after my.
You're not even smart now. What are you talking about?
Man, if this doesn't work out and your other job doesn't work out, you could be a comedian because you're funny. Oh man. Next match we had Owen Hart taking on the bad guy Razor Ramon. There was a finals match for the King of the Ring. I mean, were you expecting Razor to beat Owen, or you were just kind of up in the air at the time? You didn't?
No, I think we can see the writing on the wall that Owen was going to win here and he's going to face Brett at SummerSlam.
Yeah, it was. I mean, out of all the matches here at the King of the Ring, I mean, do you think this one was one of the better ones? I mean,
yeah, for sure. I mean, you have great, phenomenal workers and Owen Hart and Razor Ramon. So, this match was going to be good, regardless. I wish they had more time. They could have cut fucking 6 minutes off that Piper Lawler match for sure.
Yeah, and give it to this match. I mean, he was. I mean, kind of speaking of,
or at least put this on last, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, I mean, this next match, the main event, Rowdy Piper, he was, I guess, making his return to the Federation. The
active ring, because he was a special guest referee at WrestleMania time.
And then taking on the King, Jerry Lawler. I mean, come on. It was the main event. I mean, even though this is technically not a major pay-per-view, I mean, it was still on pay-per-view. I mean, people were paying money to watch this, but this is the main event. I mean,
There's a couple of notes I want to make about this match. Roddy Piper and Jerry Lawler were supposed to feud like in middle 83, maybe 82. No, it had to be 83. No, 82 or 83. And he was supposed to feud with Roddy Piper and Jerry Lawler were supposed to have this big angle. And it's going to be on Georgia TV. And then Ole Anderson, in his infinite wisdom, fires Roddy Piper, and we never get the the Lawler Piper match that we all wanted in the early '80s. Unfortunately, when this match could have been good. Unfortunately, we got this in 1994, not 1983. So it's mind-numbingly bad for various reasons. I think Jerry, it felt like Jerry was trying to do a Jerry Lawler Bill Dundee match, and Piper is no Bill Dundee in terms of in-ring ability. I think we were all pretty confident in that and saying that, especially in 1994. And it didn't work on any stretch of the imagination. Now, a couple of things also. You need to go back and watch, like 8 weeks of All American, because they're doing this weird Roddy Piper on a camcorder interview segment. That's just Roddy Piper being weirdo Roddy Piper, like uncomfortably weird Roddy Piper. Much like how he was on Primetime Wrestling in '89. Roddy Piper's insane, like for real, like not a gimmick. Like he's nuts, and he says some very uncomfortable things on television, which is really weird. So go back and watch like All American, like 6 weeks, the 6 weeks prior to this. So you'll see all these promos, and then eventually get to the Lawler one. Right? You get to the Lawler angle, which I think it was on a King's Court or a Piper's, but I think it was King's Court. And they Jerry brings out the kid, but the kid, I guess Lawler slaps him around, and Piper makes the save, so the kid's with him on the ringside, and it's a fucking cluster.
Yeah, I mean, it was, definitely. I mean, folks, if you're, before you listen to this or, after, whenever, just, like you said, listen to or go watch, All American for, kind of 6 weeks leading up to the program. I mean, you'll definitely. You
should always try to watch it. Like, if you're like, hey, I want to watch this fucking pay-per-view, it's a good idea to watch a couple of weeks of TV before you watch it, because watching pay-per-views in a vacuum is like, it's weird to me, and you don't really know what's going on because all you really see is matches. Now, sometimes they do a good job of recapping what's going on, and sometimes they don't. So just be aware. In addition to that, I don't know about the rest of you guys. I was very disappointed when Jerry Lawler came into WWF.
Yeah.
Because for years on videotape, I've watched Jerry Lawler beat Hulk Hogan, King Kong Bundy, Rick Rude, Randy Savage, Kerry Von Erich, Kurt Hennig. For years. Dominated everybody. And I thought when he came in, was it late 92, middle 92, whenever that fucking was. I think it was late 92. I thought they were going to treat Lawler like they treated Flair. Top heel. He's going to get the belt. He's going to beat everybody. And he's going to fucking run roughshod over everyone because, according to the tapes I watched, according to the Aftermags, Jerry Lawler was the greatest wrestler on the face of the fucking planet. And he comes to WWF, maybe slightly out of shape, not looking his best, a little bit older than when I see him on those tapes. I mean, it's not 1988, when he's looking cool. And it's like, I was disappointed. I was like, he's doing commentary, he's on primetime, and he's doing these King Court things. And I mean, I didn't know the politics. I didn't know he was still fucking in Memphis. Through his entire run, he's still wrestling, his schedule in Memphis. He's just doing WWF part-time. I didn't know that. So I was like super disappointed. Like, we didn't get the Lawler, like we didn't get Memphis Lawler. We got this weird WWF Lawler.
Yeah, I mean, do you think if we had Memphis Lawler, he would have been given the belt?
Yeah, I mean, he should have won the belt. Like, he should have beat Brett. Somewhere. Probably the. Yeah, I would have done Brett Lawler at Mania 9. That's probably where I would have done that. Yeah. And have Lawler beat Brett and have Lawler carry it to SummerSlam or Survivor Series or whatever, and drop it back to Brett there. Although he did have those sexual abuse allegations at the end of '93, which threw a wrench in a lot of people's plans. So
Yeah,
but he's back now. And that's, it was dropped or whatever. So
yeah, I mean, it's definitely there's allegations, whether they're true or not, kind of throw a wrench in your if you don't want to give the championship to somebody who may or may not be there. So it's like,
and he said, people who make allegations today would lose jobs and shit too. I mean, like it's happening here in fucking '93.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So, that's not necessarily a new phenomenon. It's not it's not something that's social media related. They're taking steps to protect themselves, especially in 1994 because they're getting sued by everybody in 1994. You had the guy that got paralyzed by the rocker dropper. He's suing. Jesse just won his lawsuit. Vince is under federal indictment for steroids distribution. Like he didn't need any more shit. He's like, Jerry, fucking take a hiatus, and when you fix all this shit, you can come on back.
yeah.
So.
I mean, he definitely. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. Was kind of the years of the a lot of the lawsuits. I mean, it's definitely.
The steroid trial was in the Nassau County court here in Long Island, so we had a lot of coverage from it here because it's local.
Mm-hmm.
So like we saw that on the news quite a bit, like our local like News 12 local news. We saw that. That's the first time I realized that Vince McMahon was the owner of the WWF. I didn't know that before that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get. I mean, especially back then, you don't get much coverage of wrestling unless there was some like scandals, like you said, the steroid stuff with Vince, and since it was in your local area, they're definitely gonna cover it on the news, and
They were covering the trial. I don't know. I think Meltzer was there the entire time, like in the courtroom, like covering it. So it was like it's intense, man. We could have went to jail for a long fucking time.
I'm glad he didn't, because
He's not guilty though.
yeah.
Like he took steroids. Him and Hogan took steroids, and they took them together, which is weird.
Yeah.
And he got his secretary to order it for him, but he didn't sell steroids to the wrestlers. That's what they're accusing him of.
Yeah, it's. I mean, definitely, it was definitely not a good time for Vince and the.
No, you can tell it's affecting him because you can tell how bad the product would get over time.
And I'm kind of speaking of. I mean, I want to kind of get your opinion. Next week, the show we're going to be covering is we're going to be going to 1992. We are going to be covering Halloween Havoc from that year, 1992. Your thoughts on this match? I mean, it was. I mean,
Didn't the wheel make the deal with Jake Roberts?
yeah. I mean, it had the main event.
Fuck, Jake Roberts looked fucking out of shape.
Because he probably was. He was probably
He was smoking crack
and drinking and doing all those other drugs that he was.
mostly crack.
Yeah, man. He was a very dark time. But what were your thoughts on this? I mean, this show, kind of leading up to next week.
It's probably a low point in the Bill Watts era, WCW. Matches are bad. Show looks fucking terrible. Production is bad. Fucking why didn't they gimmick the fucking wheel? And why did it fucking land on a coal miner's glove match? Who the fuck knows?
Hey, and that's a reason that we should cover because it was so shitty. So, I mean, not all shows can be good. I mean, have you ever? I mean, do you think that would? There's always going to be some kind of bad matches on shows.
Well, yeah, I mean, what we do is we nitpick. That's what we do. We love wrestling. We're not like, wow, you're complaining about it. Why don't you watch? It's like it's fucking nitpicking.
Yeah, I mean,
like there's no such thing as a perfect fucking show.
No.
Every match is 5 stars, and it's there's going to be the way the wrestling cards are laid out. There are stinkers on there, like literally on purpose, like booked that way on purpose. So just keep that in mind. And we need more Quang matches.
yeah. I mean, I think when I watched this back last couple of days, I think this had a lot of Missy Hyatt on there. Kind of. This was the event where they had. It was Rick Rude and for the title for that title match, and it was Missy
versus Ron Simmons.
This versus Masahiro Chono.
He doesn't get. He has to. Oh, this thing's it's so weird. He doesn't wrestle.
Yeah.
Both matches.
Yeah.
He has Vader defend the belt for him, if I remember correctly.
But it was kind of a weird. I mean, with Missy Hyde. I mean, do you think? I mean, she just I don't know, was she not an idiot, or they just made her seem like that?
I mean, that was they did her like big time injustice.
Yeah.
So
I mean, she's
yeah. So Vader subbing for Rude against Nikita Koloff, and then we had Rude and Medusa versus Chono for the NWA Championship, and then we had Ron Simmons who faced the Barbarian with Cactus Jack for the WCW World Title.
I can't believe they gave the Barbarian that title shot, but that's.
Shit, why was Cactus hurt? I wonder if Cactus was hurt.
I mean, it could have been.
It probably should have been Cactus.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been a great champion, but.
Well, you do get a Steamboat Brian Pillman match on the show.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Pillman. I mean, he's just, he was, he was a great wrestler. I mean, it's just one of those. I mean, he just, like I said, another death way too early. But but overall, I think that this week's match, King of the Ring, the whole show, I'd probably give it I'd say a 7 out of 10.
I think it's like, if you're gonna watch this show, fucking turn the commentary off and just enjoy the matches, because there's some good matches on there. And there's a couple good stories going on. The Owen Hart story, the 1-2-3 Kid story, the Brett and Diesel with Sean's story that's continuing. So there's cool stuff going on their show. It's just you have to get past that commentary. That's like, it's so like, I've never seen commentary derail a show in such degree before, or ever since, to be honest.
Yeah, it was
like, it's that fucking bad.
Yeah, man, I have not seen another event, after this, like you said, that this had commentary. I mean, there's been tomfoolery and shenanigans, but not just a buffoon, basically. I mean, that didn't,
No.
I mean, it's I guess it's funny if it's kind of a shtick or if it's part of the angle, like if person's kind of.
If it's for one match, like if they had him for like one match, it would have been fine. Like, you give some sort of expertise on something, but he couldn't do anything.
No, he could not do anything. But yeah, I mean, it's here to there. I mean, they probably would, if Vince had been there, he would have definitely said, "Hey, let's get this."
I think he would have pulled them.
He would have definitely pulled the old. Said, "Hey, yeah, this is great, Art Donovan, but we'll see you soon." So, but that's beside the point. But for the great Alex G, as always, I'm David Fine. Thanks again for tuning in to another edition of Retro Wrestling Rewind. Next week, like we say, we talk about Halloween Havoc 1992. Like always, we'll talk to you in the past.
238 pounds in the black corner. From St. Louis,
Mr. Pro.
Andre the Giant.
Gonna get his legs in on the bruiser. Hulk Hogan.
Number one, the greatest WWE champion of all time, and in many ways, the man who made the title what it is today, Bruno Sammartino.
his opponent weighing 236 pounds in the white corner. From Van Nuys, California.
Quand même à Enedis. Oui,